This week's edition of Eagles on Air is brought to you by Tech First.
Good morning, OHS. I'm Paige Stevens here with Casey Nicholas, bringing you another edition of Eagles on Air.
On Monday, O'Neill High School and Elementary did not have school due to parent-teacher conferences. National Honor Society helped with these parent-teacher conferences throughout the day. Principal Steve Brose reported that we had a 73% parent turnout.
Tuesday, 16 FFA members competed in the district livestock judging contest held in Spencer. They judged similar classes to what they did in Valentine, but also had a class of bulls and a few reason classes. Other schools in our district were Valentine, West Holt, West Boyd, Rock County, Elgin, and Ainsworth.
On Wednesday, FCCLA went to Stewart for their district leadership conference. They started things out with their speaker, R5. R5 talked about bullying and relationships. They then had their breakout sessions where Paul Hagan talked about texting while driving, Heidi Hostert talked about healthy diets, Bravo talked about dating violence and bullying, and Sam Burtwhistle talked about STAR.
Let's hand this over for the weather.
Hi, I'm Curtis Miller, and I'm bringing you the weekend weather forecast. On Friday, it'll be bright and sunny with a high of 70 and a low of 44. And on Saturday, it'll be a high of 67 and a low of 42. And on Sunday, it'll be nice and cloudy, the high of 69 and a low of 41. Now let's hand it off to Dave for a preview of next week.
Here with next week's forecast, Monday we'll have a high of 57, Tuesday will be a high of 49, Wednesday will be a high of 57, and Thursday will be a high of 58. Now off to sports.
The Eagle softball team took part in the Class B4 district tournament in Blair this past Thursday and Friday. The Lady Eagles opened the tournament playing David City. They won this game with a score of 8-5. The Eagles then went on to face the two-time defending state champions, the Blair Bears. The Eagles lost this game, however, with an end score of 9-0. The Lady Eagles would bounce back, however, with a 7-1 win over the Schuyler Warriors and a 3-2 victory over Norfolk's Lutheran High Northeast. This win would bring the Lady Eagles back to play on Friday morning. However, it would be their last game of the season. Blair ended up defeating O'Neill with a score of 8-0. The Lady Eagles went 16-11 on the season. In girls golf news, Allison Decco competed at the Girls State Class B Golf Championships this past Monday and Tuesday at Indian Head Golf Course in Grand Island. She would shoot back-to-back 91s, ending her total two-day score of 182. Allison placed 18th out of 85 golfers. In volleyball news this week, the Lady Eagles traveled to Plainview on Tuesday to take on the Pirates. They defeated Plainview in 3 sets. And on Thursday, Pierce came to O'Neill, where the Lady Eagles picked up the W over the Blue Jays in 4 sets. On Saturday, the varsity team traveled to Wisner to play in the Wisner-Pilger Invitational. The Lady Eagles would lose their first game to Norfolk Catholic in 2 sets, but they picked up wins against West Point and Neely. The JV and C teams also did some traveling this past Monday as they went to Neely, where both teams picked up a win there. This Saturday, the varsity Eagles will be traveling to Norfolk to play in the Central 8 Conference Tournament held at Lutheran High Northeast. This is set to get kicked off at 10 a.m. Finally, rounding out this week's activities, the OHS cross-country team has been gearing up for the 2010 Class C district meet in Albion. This is set to start at 5 o'clock, with the girls first, followed by the boys. Prior to this meet, the team took part in the Bloomfield cross-country meet. Finishing 4th in the boys JV division was Nate Gottschall. Lucas George and Kyler Lurs also placed in the top 20. Lucas placing 18th and Kyler placing 19th. Following the boys JV division, the varsity girls team took 5th place out of 17 teams. Individual placings were Tasha Lechtenberg finishing 16th and Lizzie Price finishing 20th. And the final race of the day was the boys varsity race. Daniel Waterman finished 7th, and Kyle Pardun and Humberto Castillo finished 23rd and 29th respectively. The team placed 5th overall. That'll be all for this week's edition of Sports. I am Morgan Duvall.
Thanks, guys. It looks like winter is finally starting to settle in. Nights seem to be getting colder and colder, and fall sports seem to be coming in for a close, only for winter sports to begin.
The first marching band competition was held last Saturday. They received their 6th superior rating. Way to go, guys.
Parents' night for football, girls golf, cross country, and cheerleading is tonight. The softball and girls golf seasons are done for the year, and football, volleyball, and cross country seasons are coming to a close. Let's hope that everyone is able to make it to as many of the remaining games as possible and show our team's support.
Let's hand us off to Shane Miles with an interview with Mr. Bros discussing the new school policies.
Hello, Shane Miles here with Mr. Bros. Today we're going to be asking him some questions about the new policies. So, are you ready?
I'm ready to go.
Alright, first off, I think everybody wants to know why the new tardy and detention policies are so strict.
Is it that they're so strict, or is it that you feel that they're strict?
I think everybody thinks they're a little more strict than last year anyway.
Okay, well here's the deal. We had a little issue last year with some of the tardies, and the powers that be kind of felt that the tardies were maybe kind of looked at like it's no big deal, all right? So the policy last year was maybe a little bit more lenient than it was this year. I would probably concede that's a little tougher this year. But the reason is because we want to try to eliminate or reduce the number of tardies that kids have, so that obviously when they get to class they're maybe a little bit more on task if they get there on time. So the policy was put in place so that hopefully it would make a difference in the number of tardies overall that we have throughout the school year.
Alright. Could you maybe tell us a little bit about the new truancy and school attendance policies also?
Okay, well, we have a new attendance officer, and that is Mrs. Hagan, okay, and the policy actually isn't new. The policy is just being administered by her, okay, and through the office. Before it was kind of the attendance secretary, Mrs. Price, who was our attendance secretary last year, and is again this year. But Mrs. Hagan is administering that, and basically the policy goes like this. If a student has 5 absences for whatever reason, she makes contact with the parents to let the parents know that there have been 5 absences, okay? And then another multiple of 5, we get to 10. Gets a little bit more serious. Hey, we still have some more absences, and now we're at 10. When you get to 15, we have another meeting and try to discuss why we have so many absences, okay, with each individual student. And of course, when we get to 20, then it's time to let the county attorney know if there's been a violation of the attendance policy. That's always kind of been in place before, but previously it was 8 in any given semester, and we call them unexcused absences. Now we just count them as absent. And if there's a problem, I guess the issue is we want to make sure that the parents know that if there is a problem, and if it exceeds what the expectations are for the school district and state law, then we are required to report to the county attorney. So that's kind of in a nutshell why we have the attendance policy as we have it.
Alright, I think I'll ask you about some of the smaller policies that we've kind of had, but you've updated. The phone, driving, and early out policies. Could you give us a little more information on all those?
Okay, well, the phone policy is not changed from the previous year, okay? Basically, this is how we treat a phone violation, a cell phone violation by a student. If it's their first violation, the student simply returns the phone, hands over the phone to the teacher, and the teacher gives it to the student, returns it following school. If there's a second violation, then I kind of get called into the act, and I will give the phone back after the day is over. But I also call the parents and say, hey, there was a phone violation. If a student gets to number 3, then it's a suspension day, and obviously it goes on from there. If there's a 4th violation, which we often don't have, but it'll be a 3-day suspension and so forth.
Alright, the driving policy?
The driving policy, we've always had a no driving policy. Occasionally somebody forgets that or chooses not to remember it. And if a student violates the driving policy, basically it's a suspension day. Second one is a 3-day, third one is a 5-day, and of course expulsion following that. However, we have varied from that, and we do give senior driving privileges, okay? And of course the seniors will lose the driving privileges if they don't have sign-off from their parent, or if they have any school violations. So that's kind of the same as what it's been as far as driving goes. If seniors do have the driving privilege, okay, they are not to drive with or provide rides for other students.
Alright, and then let's touch quickly on the early out policy.
Well, early out is new this year because we did go to 8 days and we extended the school day by about 25 minutes or so, okay? So we thought we would try to reward students for getting good grades, and it goes like this. If students have all A's and B's and they have permission forms signed by the parent, they get an early out at 3 o'clock if they are a junior or a senior, okay? We may extend this to underclassmen at a later date, but we thought we'd better see how this goes, and right now we currently probably have about 35, 40 kids that are taking advantage of this, okay? So hopefully it's going to be an incentive for students to do better academically.
All right, well, thank you for your time.
It's my pleasure.
Thanks, Shane. Well, now is the time to hear from our movie critic, Randy Baker. He is going to review the movie Iron Man 2. Let's hand this off to Randy and see what he has to say.
Hi O'Neill, it's time for another movie review. Iron Man 2 begins with the character Tony Stark, played by Robert Downey Jr., revealing his identity as Iron Man to the world. Tony is pressured into giving up his technology to the government, but refuses to do so. And Tony is attacked while racing his F1 car by Ivan Vanko, or Mickey Rourke for those of us living in real life. After Tony defeats Ivan, Ivan escapes from jail with the help of Justin Hammer, played by Sam Rockwell. Apparently, Tony's dad worked with Ivan's dad on some sort of energy race, and while Tony's dad wanted to improve human life, Ivan's dad just wanted to make a lot of money. Tony's dad deports him as a result of this selfish decision, and this sends him into a rage for several months. Ivan is seriously angry about all this later in life and wants to get rid of Tony any way he can, which explains why Ivan attacked Tony and ruined so many expensive cars. Hammer wants to get rid of Tony also because Tony lives in the spotlight and is very cocky and really detests him all around. Hammer works with Ivan to try to get rid of Tony, and all this results in quite a fiasco, as you can imagine. The acting in this movie is very solid, and all the camera angles in some scenes in the movie are brilliant. I thoroughly enjoyed watching this movie because it's filled with explosions, interesting characters, and expensive cars, and just a lot of overall enjoyable excitement. I would be willing to give this movie a 5 out of 5 bologna pieces, although I'm still unsure why Tony is plagued with his blood-containing toxins that are killing him, and why his power pack, if you will, is causing this problem. And my friend Cody seems to be deathly ill, so this week I'm going to eat the one piece of bologna.
Thanks, Randy. That sounds like a pretty good movie that people will want to go see if they haven't already.
Well, that is all for this edition of Eagles on Air. We look forward to you tuning in next week.
Thank you for watching this week's edition of Eagles on Air. If you have any news or comments for future broadcasts, you can email us at eaglesonairnews@gmail.com.